Hello students, so at this point we are at question step number 5 for our lab report. So here are the instructions for how to use the virtual lab and how to complete your data and your graph. So first things first, you do need a Google account. Please make sure you go to accounts.google.com /sign up and sign up. It only takes 30 seconds if you don't already have a Google account. Make sure if you do need to create a new Google account, save your username and your password, since we will use this all quarter for every single one of our labs, of which we have about 9 of them, so you don't want to have to make 9 different Google accounts. Please watch this recording in the instructions, instructions recording first and then begin the lab on your own. It's very confusing if you try to do them both at the same time. So watch first and then do it later. So what you're going to do is you are going to go to docs.google.com /spreadsheets, again, once you have your Google account. And we are going to go ahead and create a new spreadsheet. We're also going to be opening up the virtual lab. So the link to the virtual lab is also here. So you'll want to make sure you have both of those open and click Begin the Lab, put on your gloves, and then click Start Lab or Start. Okay. And once this loads, you'll be able to see we have a bunch of different types of balls here. We also have a big ruler right here that's going to be used in our experiment. Alright, so first things first though, we do need to start filling out our Google Sheet so that we have that before we start working in our lab. So what we're going to do is we are going to click on where it says blank right here with the plus sign to add a new spreadsheet. So click on that. From there you are going to title it. And so your title right here is going to be Drop and Bounce Lab, and you are going to make sure to type your name here. Okay, that way I'm able to tell whose lab it is. Just makes it a little bit easier for me when I'm grading it. From here, you are going to then type in your data table. So let me go ahead and show over here your data table. So this is our data table that we're going to be filling out. So the first column needs to be drop height in centimeters. So make sure you write the cm for centimeters. Our next column is going to be the golf ball. The third column will be the rubber ball, and the last column will be the clay ball. Okay, don't worry about where it says bounce height. We will be adding that to our graph after we've actually created the graph. Now underneath the drop height, we already know what heights we will be dropping from, so we can already fill these in. We'll drop from 0 centimeters, 20, 40, 60, 80, and 100 centimeters. Now, really important, do not put any letters in here. It should only be numbers. So that's why we put the centimeters up here in the label. We're not putting centimeters next to the numbers. If you put anything next to the numbers, you will not be able to make your graph, and it won't look correct, and you won't get points for it. So make sure you only have numbers in this part of the graph. Let me go ahead and type that in here very quickly so that we remember that. Oops, sorry, I'm going to type that over here. Okay, so only use numbers in there. Another thing that's really important is please do not use my data. Okay, first off, your lab might make your balls work a little bit differently than mine, so you should end up with different data, but also most of my data table is going to be fake data. Okay, so please don't use my data because I will be able to tell that you did not do your own work because it's not going to be real data. Okay, so from here what I'm going to do, I have my table here ready. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go over to my lab right here. Okay, so for my lab, I'm going to be looking at the golf ball, the rubber ball, and the clay ball. So the golf ball right here is going to be this bigger white one. All right, the rubber ball is this blue one, and then the clay ball is the yellow and pink one. Okay. Now you can go up here and you can actually zoom in, which I find makes it a little bit easier to tell what I'm doing. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we are going to grab each ball and we're going to be dropping them from the heights that we said we were going to based on our table. Okay, so first off, the golf ball needs to be dropped from 0, which amazingly it does not bounce when it gets dropped from 0. So we can see right in here, 0. Now for the rubber ball, same thing. Let's move this and grab the rubber ball. Rubber ball, we're going to bounce from 0, which again, it doesn't bounce, so I'm going to enter 0 into my table underneath rubber ball in the line that we are dropping from 0 height. And then for the last one, the clay ball also drops from 0, does not move, so underneath clay ball in the line that says we dropped from 0, I will say that it also bounced 0 centimeters. Okay, without actually writing centimeters, just 0. Then we're going to do this from 20 centimeters. So you can see here our next line, we need to drop from 20 centimeters. So our golf ball, I'm going to line up the bottom of the golf ball from 20 centimeters. Okay, we're always measuring from the bottom of each ball. So the bottom of the golf ball goes up against 20 centimeters. I'm going to drop it. And it bounced back up to about 12 centimeters. Again, your data may be different, so please do not use my data, use your own data. Then we'll do that with the rubber ball. Drop it from the bottom being lined up against 20. And that one bounced up to about 11. Oops. Uh-oh. Come back, come back. Now the clay ball also dropped from 20. That one didn't bounce, so I'm just going to say 0 for that line. Okay, and then you'll do the same thing for every other one. So I'll show you one more example, but after that you will need to be able to do this on your own. So let me zoom out a little bit here. If you find you're having a hard time seeing, you can also try to zoom in with your browser. So even if this zoom doesn't work, you can zoom in with your browser and that can be helpful. Okay, so golf ball is being dropped from 40 right here. And so that one for me bounced up to about 26. Again, I'm filling out the dropping from 40 now. So underneath golf ball, it bounced up to about 26. Do the rubber ball from 40, line it up against the bottom. And that one for me went up to about 23. Again, use your own data. And then the clay ball from 40 did not bounce, so I'm going to put 0 in there. Okay, so at this point you should be able to do the rest of your measurements from 60, 80, and 100, right? So you'll do 60 next, and then you'll do 80. You don't need to highlight these like I'm doing it. I'm just trying to make it look more obvious to you. And then you'll do 100. Okay, so do each line, do each ball. Okay. Now, we can see this here. Again, you might need to zoom out, so you can do it from 60, then 80, then 100 for each type of ball. Shouldn't take very long. Now, once you do have your data, which I'm going to fill the rest of this in with fake data. Okay, once we have the rest of our data, which again, this is fake data, please don't use this, we are going to go ahead and make our graph. Okay, so the instructions on how to make your graph are in the lab report. I do have those pasted there, right here. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to highlight all of the data. So you need to start at where it says drop height and make sure you highlight every single number. If you don't highlight every single number, you're going to miss some of your data. So all of your data, the titles and the numbers should be highlighted. So just click and drag. Once you have all of that highlighted, you're going to go to where it says insert, go down to where it says chart, and now a chart will pop up. You should see 3 colors. Okay, you should see, oops, sorry, I wanted to do that differently. You should be able to see blue, red, and yellow. Okay, so each of our balls right here. Okay, now this is in the wrong format. I don't want a bar graph. I actually want a scatter plot. So I'm going to go to where it says column chart, click on that, scroll down, and click on where it says scatter. So now this looks correct. This is what we actually want. We want the dots. From there, we do need to correct some of the titles here. So underneath where it says chart and axes titles, we're going to go to where it says chart title. The title text actually needs to be bounce height versus drop height. All right, the dependent variable goes first here. So what we graphed on the y-axis goes first here. Then we're going to change the horizontal axis title, make sure that it says drop height in centimeters, which mine already says that, and then click on that again and change it to vertical axis. Your vertical axis should be bounce height in centimeters. And now we can see that pop up. Make sure you include the units centimeters. If you don't include the units centimeters, you won't get points for these. You have to make sure you include those. The next thing is we do need to have a trend line. So to do the trend line, we're going to go down to where it says series and check mark where it says trend line, and we should see some lines pop up that go close to our dots. They might not perfectly line up with your dots. They probably shouldn't line up perfectly with your dots. So as long as the trend line is mostly accurate, that's what we need. Now for one of our questions, question number 7 here, question number 7 here, we are going to be able to need to see the rubber ball at 120 centimeters drop height to predict how high it would bounce. So you can see right here that I can't actually see the drop height of 120 centimeters yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to where it says grid lines. And under vertical axis, I'm going to change the major grid line count from auto to 10. And then I'm going to change this to the horizontal axis. Sorry, I don't know why this is not doing that right now. Okay, yeah, so the horizontal axis, I'm going to change that one to 10 as well. Okay, so now we can see much more of our line here, and we can see drop height of 120, which we're going to need when we get to question number 7. Okay, so we can make this a little bit bigger just so I can see it. All right, and now my data table and my graph is complete, and I can go ahead and get the link for this. Okay, so in this box right here, you're going to be pasting the link to this document. Do not paste the URL from the top here. If you try to give me the URL from the top here, I won't be able to see it. You will get a 0 on it, and you don't want to get a 0. This is worth about half the lab. So instead, you're going to go to Share, click Get Shareable Link, click where it says Copy Link, and then that's all you need to paste into here. So into your box, you're going to paste that. So Control V on PCs, I think it might be Command V on Macs, or you can right click and paste to get that in here. And then just save that. And that is all you need to submit for number 5. As long as this is completely filled out, you'll get your points here. Okay. Now, question number 6 is going to ask, did our data support or disprove our hypothesis? We do need to make sure we include actual numbers. So right here, you should be able to say my hypothesis was supported or my hypothesis was disproven. Okay, so for example, if we see that as we drop from higher heights, the bounce heights get higher, then we would be able to say that this was supported, since our hypothesis said that as drop height goes higher, our bounce height should also be better, right? So that would be supported. If we see from our data that as we drop from higher heights, the bounce height gets lower and gets worse, then we would say that this is disproven. Okay, so far though, based on the little data I've gotten from here, I do see a trend that this is going to be increasing for the golf ball and the rubber ball. Okay, the clay ball didn't seem to be increasing, so if that disproves your hypothesis, you should mention that the clay ball was an exception. Okay. Now, the way that you are going to write your results is you do need to include actual numbers, right? So you should be able to say that, for example, as the golf ball went from being dropped at 20 centimeters to 40 centimeters, the bounce height went from, in my case, it went from 12 centimeters to 26 centimeters, which proves that the bounce height got better or improved. Okay, something like that. Don't copy what you see here. Okay, you can use similar wording, but please do not copy this word for word. Okay, and then you'll talk about the rubber ball and talk about the clay ball as well. Talk about how your data, how the actual numbers from your graph prove your hypothesis. Okay, you don't have to use every single number in your data, but you do need to use some of the numbers enough to prove your results here. Okay. Lastly, question number 7 asks you to use your trend lines to predict the bounce height of the rubber ball if it's dropped from a height of 120 centimeters. So you can see here that for my rubber ball is in red. Yours might be different, so make sure you take a look at what color your rubber ball line is. So for mine, my rubber ball line is in red. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay attention to where it got dropped from. Okay, so it's saying here, if we drop from 120 centimeters, where would it go next? Okay, so let me go ahead and get this copied so that I can draw on this. All right, so to make a prediction, what you are going to need to do, To make a prediction, what you are going to need to do is you're going to look at where we dropped, where it wants you to drop from. Okay, so imagine we dropped from 120. You're going to go all the way up to the rubber ball line, which in my case is the red line. And once you're here, Okay, that's the data point we're interested in. We're going to look to the left, and wherever we land on the left, that is my predicted bounce height, right? Because over here on the left, that's bounce height. So my predicted bounce height in my situation would be 60 centimeters. Okay, again, yours will probably be different. Do not use my data. My data is fake. Okay, so in my case though, I'm predicting that it's going to be 60 centimeters. Right, so I would write here that mine would have a predicted height of 60 centimeters. This is fake data. This is wrong. Don't copy this. Okay, I know for a fact that 60 centimeters is too little, so if I see 60 centimeters, I know that you will have just copied the data. Don't copy. Okay, and then you'll save that, and then you will be able to submit your quiz. So you'll go to submit, click submit. Make sure you click it until it's actually completely submitted. Keep in mind that I do need to grade this by hand, so you won't see it change from a 0 to an actual grade until I have hand graded it. So give me 24 hours to make sure that it gets graded. Okay? Thank you guys, and we will go back to the class and finish up the rest of class.